Hi everyone. So I've been receiving a lot of questions lately about how to use a French press, so I thought we'd dive into that today. I've got a couple different recipes I'm going to show you. You can make hot coffee, you can make cold coffee, and you can even make kind of a latte sort of thing. Maybe not a latte, it's definitely a cafe au lait, but we're just going to call it a latte for now because it's probably the closest you're going to get if you don't have an espresso machine. Anyways, French presses are awesome. I've got 2 of them here and they're great. They're how I started brewing coffee at home, and they're super easy and affordable, and now that I've got my barista apron on and I feel like a barista again, let's get started. Okay, so if you haven't seen a French press before, this is what it looks like. What I'm pulling out right now is called the plunger. It's what's going to end up separating your coffee grounds from your water. Super easy. We've also got this little nifty scoop that you can scoop out your coffee grounds with. It's kind of one of those like little premium functions of a French press if you get one of the more expensive ones. Then you have your glass carafe and your stainless steel container so you're not touching hot glass. You can really easily pull these apart to clean them and then super easily put them back together, just as I'm doing right here. So that's a French press. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's move on. Now today we'll also be using these beautiful mugs supplied to us by Created Co. They're an amazing company that I've been following for actually a super long time. I've seen them a ton at conventions, and I was really honored when they reached out to me and asked if I want some of their mugs. So I'll link them in the description. Please go check them out, but we'll be using these today. All right, now that I've explained everything, let's move on to our first drink. So we're just going to be starting out with hot coffee and a French press, the basics, if you haven't ever done that before. If not, feel free to skip forward. So we're going to have hot water and coarsely ground coffee here. I just got it freshly ground, that's why it's in a paper bag. Don't mind that too much. Now, just in case people don't have scales at home, I figured I'd give this to you in cup measurements. So this is an 8-cup French press, and we're going to be adding roughly 3/4 cup of coffee, so 12 tablespoons. You can do it by weight. You can also mess around with adding more or less depending on how you like it, so feel free to play around. This isn't set in stone, this is just a taste, and there's no real wrong way to do this. Alright, so we put in our coffee, swirled it around so it's a nice, flat, even bed, and let's put in our water. So the first thing I'm going to do is slowly dump in just a little bit of water, just enough to basically cover all the grounds in there, and then I'm going to give it a quick stir with my spoon. This is just to make sure all those coffee grounds are initially saturated with water before dumping in the rest of it, essentially just filling up the French press so it's fully immersed. And then we're going to be putting back on that little lid / plunger. Don't plunge it, by the way. Leave the plunger up. It's going to look really wonky with it up, but don't touch it. Just let it sit there. And I'm going to set the timer for 4 minutes. And what you're about to see here is my Google Home being way too loud. Anyways, about 4 minutes. Again, that's a number you can play around with, but after you figure out how long you want to brew your coffee for, whether it's 4 minutes, 4.5, 5 minutes, just don't touch it. Like, it's going to suck, but you just got to stand there and wait. Although in the meantime, this is the chance you can get to get that creamer, to get your sugar. Personally, I like my coffee pretty sweet. I'll be honest, even though I've been a barista for a while, I still don't drink it black a lot. So I'm going to add a little bit of chocolate and potentially a little bit of milk if we're feeling fancy. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. I just kind of play around in the moment, but just get everything all set up. Clean some stuff up, put your hot water away, do whatever you need, but you have 4 minutes to just chill and be productive. Or not productive. Totally up to you. Okay, I think our coffee is almost ready now, so I'm gonna... Nope, don't touch it. Stop touching it. Don't press down the plunger. Just wait. That's a good idea. Get your drink all ready. So I added a little bit of chocolate, and now it's time to plunge. All right, so here's the trick. You want to very, very slowly start plunging down. You don't want to do it super aggressively, otherwise you have the potential of spreading your grounds throughout your drink, which you do not want. You want them to be pressed against the bottom, not in your cup. So slowly plunge down, and there you go. You've got about 6 cups of coffee at the end of all of this. So I poured it in. You can see I had my little bit of chocolate there, and that's a pretty solid cup of coffee. So there you go. That's way number 1 of using a French press. Pretty traditional, the way you're going to standardly see it used, and it's great. But let's move on to some other things I can do. Now, in my last video where I gave a cold brew tutorial, a lot of you asked if you could do this in a French press, and the answer is, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to be using about a 7-to-1 ratio of coffee to water, so I'm adding a little bit over a cup of ground coffee here. Again, this is another thing. You can just play around with it. You can change up your ratio, you can add more, you can add less. There's no real wrong way to do coffee, honestly. Just drink it the way you want to drink it. So I've got my coffee all added here, and the next thing I'm going to be adding is distilled water / filtered water. Either one is great. Again, I mentioned this in my last video, which I will link in the description, but if your water has any sort of like chemical taste or any sort of minerals or anything like that. You want to make sure those are taken out because they will affect the taste of your coffee, believe it or not. So again, filtered water, distilled water, anything like that is fantastic. The quality of your water drastically affects coffee, and that's something not a lot of people realize. Now, we're going to put the plunger back on. Again, we're not going to plunge it, and we're going to take it over here to the fridge. I prefer to brew my cold brew usually for about 20 hours, but 18 to 24 hours is usually around the standard range. Now we take it out and plunge it, and there we go. 20 hours later, or overnight, or whatever you want, you've got cold brew. Now, I usually would put it in an iced cup, but we got these beautiful mugs here, so who cares? We're just going to be on the wild side, and we're going to put our iced coffee in a hot mug. So I'm adding the finishing touches of a few ice cubes, and there you go. A really nice cup of cold brew for a hot summer day, or a rainy day, or a cloudy day, or a snowy day, or I'll be honest, I could drink cold brew all day, every day, any day. Let's be honest, it's super good. All right, so we've got our coffee things, and now I'm going to teach you about that little latte hack that I mentioned earlier. The first thing you're going to need to do is have a clean French press. I cleaned out the one with cold brew because I'm still going to need some hot coffee, but the next thing we're going to do is heat up some milk. I'm going to pour about a cup of whole milk into a mug, and we're going to use a microwave to heat it up because it's the fastest way, and honestly, it tastes the same pretty much no matter how you do it. So doesn't matter, let's use the microwave, it's going to be great. I'm going to put it in there for about a minute and a half, seems to be the best way. Also, say hi to the cameraman. He's super helpful and always films for me, and he's great. Hi, cameraman. Anyways, as I was saying, a minute and a half on the milk, and it's time to just chill. You can clean up, or you can dance and spin, or do whatever I'm doing right here. Wasn't really sure, but I thought I'd leave it in just for, I guess, your enjoyment or whatever. I wasn't really sure what I was going to say through this, so I'm going to try not to be bored while my video self is being bored waiting for the milk. Oh, wow, this is taking a long time, and I should have cut it out. That's okay. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we have hot milk now, which is great. Let's go get it out and take it back to our French press and work on the next step. Go, me, go. I want to keep talking. Okay. So we're going to dump some of our hot coffee into a mug. That's going to be the base. You can dump however much you want. And the next thing we're going to do is pour our hot milk into the French press. Be more careful than I was, everyone. Morgan spills coffee, as my last top comment said. It's accurate. Okay. Put your plunger in. Put it all the way down into the milk, and then just start aggressively plunging it. It looks kind of ridiculous, but what you're essentially doing is the same thing that a steam wand would do to milk. You're just pulling air into the milk and making it foamier. Now, the trick I do is to plunge it near the top so you have access to more air, but you can see the volume of the milk is growing. It's taking in air and it's getting fluffier, which is essentially what you need in a latte. It's foam. It's super cool, and although it might not be the same quality as you get in a cafe, it's pretty close, I'll be honest. Now, you don't necessarily need this, but I still had one of my latte pitchers at home, so I'm going to pour it in and let's see if we can get some latte art on top. This is kind of hit or miss, but let's just go for it. Okay, as you can see, fluffy milk like a latte. So dump it into your coffee, and yes, this is a cafe au lait, but we're just going to call it a latte for the time being because it's pretty dang close. Look at that. We even got a heart. Look how cute that is. Oh my god, I was actually really surprised. I didn't expect it to turn out that well. And it's pretty yummy to boot too. Again, you can add any syrups you want, and it's great. Alright, so those are the 3 ways I really like to use French presses. As hot coffee, as cold brew, and as a cafe au lait / milk steaming / latte. Now, if you try these, and you want to tag me, feel free. Morgan Drinks Coffee on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. I love seeing it. It makes me so happy. I hope this was helpful to someone, and you know the rules. Like, follow, and subscribe. Well, it's not a rule, but it's a suggestion. Okay, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.